Namaskar. We welcome all of you here today. I welcome Ms. Chitra from Chitra Lele Associates. She is a young software engineer and a solution architect by profession. You might not be aware, she's also a student pursuing her higher studies, and yet she has established a career of her own as Chitra Lele Associates. She's an academic author by passion and a peace ambassador, a social worker by purpose. Chitra started her corporate journey and her inner quest about 3 years ago. You can easily see this inner quest of hers visible on all her posts on LinkedIn, through which I actually met her. I thank the LinkedIn platform for giving me such a beautiful friend to me. Her fields of software engineering, peace, promotion, and writing are all very close to her, and they are intertwined. These fields are so important to her that they make a part and parcel, an equation of her life. They are part of her DNA. I welcome you, dear Chitra, to share a few words about yourself to everyone today.
First of all, a big thanks to you, dear Dee, for having me on your show. It's a great honor and pleasure to be a part of your initiative. And I also want to thank our combined networks for tuning in. And, our LinkedIn family is like a family far away from home. We have one more hub of anchor that we can fall back on times of criticality. And you're one of the most important persons in my life in the LinkedIn verse. And you have shown me your unconditional support throughout, and I really thank you from the core of my heart. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'll just share a bit of a background and philosophy behind my studies, research, professional work, social work, peace work. See, basically at any given point in time, I'm either a software student or software engineer who's trying to churn out new ideas for my next book project. And the very next moment, I'm an author who's trying to verify or validate the new theories or approaches that I've come up with in my own software field or any other domain. Because whatever I try to create, be it software projects, books, peace policies, there's one common theme that runs through all these pursuits of mine, and that is a young person's viewpoint on the various aspects of life. That is what my audiences, readers, software clients find very appealing. And since I'm wearing all these hats together, simultaneously, there's no role switching or role reversal happening. It's 24/7. All these roles are on 24/7. And no doubt my software work or my software studies, they keep my brains alive or keep my gray cells active. But what keeps my inner spark ignited is my passion for writing academic books and my purpose of world peace. So, this is what I am in short, in a snapshot. That's Chitra Lele for you. Yeah.
Would you like to share some of the activities that you're actually doing for world peace?
Yes, absolutely. See, I started my journey in world peace or social work at a very young age. When I was still doing my undergrad studies, like almost 9 years ago. So basically, I have always been a on the field person. I've always been at ground zero. Like the conflict areas or the conflict zones. I've been to several countries like Afghanistan, South Africa, where you have these local conflicts, civil wars, or even inter-country wars, or where you have those kind of conflict situations. I've been there with my team, for negotiation, for peace policy making, for talking, having talks with politicians or bureaucrats or policymakers there with the team. So I've done that kind of work for the last so many years, and then I've also had the opportunity to present my peace policy frameworks to several politicians, several government panels over the years. And I also work as a peace ambassador for several institutions across the globe, including the US and here in the UK, like Peace Writers Organization, which is there in North Cary, or the World Peace Organization, which is there in Santa Monica, several other organizations. And also have produced a lot of peace-related literature, in terms of peace poems or research papers or scholarly articles. And you'll also find a glimpse of all these aspects of peacemaking. There are lots of aspects to peacemaking in my books as well. You'll find a reflection of them in many of my books. Even if those books are academic and reference books in nature, you will still have some component of peace or spirituality going hand in hand with those genres or subjects that I've tackled. Apart from that, I'm also a children's educational programs director with the World Peace Organization, wherein we develop educational programs for children and young people, young adults like myself, where how peace should be achieved, because merely the absence of conflict does not actually represent the presence of peace. How these two components of the equation have to be balanced out. So we have those kind of programs also, which we deliver to students across the globe, both in physical sessions as well as through virtual programs. So yeah, this is my journey as a peacemaker or peace ambassador over the last decade or so. Yeah.
That's really beautiful. How do you accomplish so much at such a young age?
Actually, that's a very good question. And that is where, the trigger point for my spiritual transformation or personal transformation journey started. When I was like around 17, 18 years old, I had this huge wave of depression that I had to face, due to a lot of factors. I lost a lot of people during that period of time. Sudden demise, nothing, there was no precursor to their exit from this world. And that's when I started seeking answers as to why there's so much of suffering in my life, or why there's so much of suffering even otherwise, on a global level, or even in your immediate community. And that's when I started, developing healing methods or healing modalities in terms of the written word. I came up with a lot of formulae, or I came up with a lot of policies or frameworks. And, my first book, The 6 Spheres of Life, is completely, based on my own experience and how I healed myself at the core level. Because just merely visiting doctors or psychology counselors or psychiatrists doesn't help. It helps at the outermost level, through medications or some kind of healing modality, which just, helps you to understand your emotions, but not process and diffuse them. So I came up with inner resources that each one of us has. Those inner resources on our inner server. We just need to activate them. So I just gave those formulae or modules which can help you to activate those sublime software programs stored on your inner server. So that's how my writing journey also started off. And healing through writing was one of the ways that I was able to touch base with my inner spark. Till that point in time, I was like, a young person enjoying life, studying, going out with friends. But at 18, 19 was a turning point for me, when I realized that I'm much more than just, my outer labels of a student or a girl or whatever. I'm something more than that. And that's how my journey began to, peel off the layers of the onion that we all carry in the form of this carnal cage or physical construct, and sort of tap into my inner strengths, and also face my weaknesses as well.
That's really awesome. You started writing at the young age of 19, is it?
Yes. And my first book got released when I was 20, when I just graduated. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you so much. Actually, anybody can do it. It's just that you need some kind of a trigger. And by the grace of God, I probably got that trigger as a depression wave at a very young age. So I'm actually thankful to the higher essence that it gave me that depression wave to face or surf high on, at a young age.
To go through one thing, which is something as deep as depression, it's very difficult for any person out there. And you have gone actually one step further. You've come out of your depression and you've analyzed it and seen how you can actually help others come out of depression, and written a book at such a young age is something quite amazing, I would say. So that's kudos to you, Chitra. How many books do you actually have under your name?
Yeah, actually, thanks Dee for all the endless encouragement. But I would like to also point out here that everybody is a warrior. Actually, it's just that I'm just helping people to tap into that element. Because I've been through that path, so I know the signposts. So I'm just giving those signposts. And if people follow those signposts, I'm sure, they will also create wonders in their lives. Yeah. In the last 10 years, 9 to 10 years, I've penned down 45 plus books. You can see all my books are available across the globe, especially on popular portals like Amazon, Flipkart, Waterstones. Lots of other portals are there, and they are published by established academic publishers like Springer, Atlantic Publishers, BPP Publishers. And I'm really thankful to these publishers for, sort of taking up my work on purely merit basis, because, normally young people are not taken seriously, and especially when you write academic books, the general tendency of people is to see that first, okay, let me have a look at your face. If you're saying you're writing an academic book and you're young, I want to see how old you are. And, that's how I was treated initially. But these established publishers, they do have that unique sight to understand, if there's a new kind of a book, new kind of a concept presented in a book in a particular genre, then they definitely give it a platform for people to access it. So you'll find my books both in hardbound or paperback format, and obviously in ebook format. Most of my books have been published in ebook format as well, because these days most people are on the go readers. So my publishers have also published all the books in ebook format, most of them, 90%. Yeah.
So in these books that you have written, what is that which you talk about?
Yeah. Okay. Now, I've actually tackled almost all subjects except for medical science. Medical science is not my cup of tea. I'm still researching that particular area. But I've tackled subjects related to my own field, computer science, related to world peace, related to spirituality, philosophy, social studies, language and linguistics. And I'm not boasting, but I'm just giving you the USP of my books is that when I talk about these books, I just don't focus on the how, who, what, where, when, why, but I also focus on the what next. Each of my books, if you see, the last section is the what next. It's a solution framework. Any book, like I have recently, my book on artificial intelligence was launched by BPP globally. And the last section talks about what next, because most people are, fearful of these new technologies, digital 2.0 technologies. And some of their fear is justified. And how the fear that is justified, which could result into dystopian scenarios, how it can be tackled beforehand. So I've provided a framework for that ecosystem. So that is one plus point of all my books. And the second plus point of all my books is that although if I'm talking about a particular subject, say business management, I'm also infusing the principles of spirituality. Now spirituality is not a religion. It's something to do with your own heart or with your own spirit. And most of us do have all those qualities, empathy, compassion, kindness, but somewhere in the rat race, we tend to forget all that. And then we become a mechanical robot. So I've provided means and signposts in all my books in regards to that particular subject in terms of spiritual principles and how to merge those spiritual principles with whatever the subject that I'm tackling. And I've provided it with examples, and it's just not theory. There are practical examples also supporting my theory and framework. And also a roadmap as to how you can apply it to your own life, be it your social life, personal life, corporate life, and spiritual life. Yeah. So these are two USP points of my books.
It's beautiful. It's very interesting to understand or know that two different fields like spirituality and technology actually can be merged together. Can you say or share an excerpt from one of your books with us here?
Yeah, this is one of my poetry collections. Exit the Matrix. Okay, so I'll read out the first poem, which shares the title of the book. Yeah. The title of the poem is Exit the Matrix. Exit the Matrix. Don't let it play mind tricks. It is a trap of passing carnal pleasures. Think twice. Don't we deserve eternal treasures? Exit the Matrix. Don't let in politics and power freaks. Their promises are a mere farce. The inner self is the only saving grace. Exit the Matrix. Don't let religions give the creeps. The word of the inner sacred scripture will reveal the higher purpose's perfect picture. Exit the matrix. Don't get caught in the web of the false creatrix. By staying away from its beliefs and dogmas, one can exit from the daily dramas. Exit the matrix. Go beyond the veil of vicious views and override the program of technology to overcome becoming a zombie. Exit the matrix. Evolution has no quick fix. Freedom from clutches of fake gurus brings about blossoming of the real you. Exit the matrix. Money matters, greed gushes, and corrupt cliques do not provide any bail from this fleshly jail. Exit the matrix. This pyramid of fanatic power puts all in stasis. Control, hidden agendas, and lies. To these, we need to say our goodbyes. Exit the matrix. The code to unlocking the mind matrix is within you, is within each cell of yours. Once unlocked, grace outpours. Exit the matrix, exit the matrix. Wake up Silicon Valley from prison to paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this book basically is my own experience in the Silicon Valley. You know, actually I got placed in the Silicon Valley immediately after my campus recruitment.
Yeah.
And in the very first week of my induction, I felt that there's something off in this corporate setup. You know, I've really found these undercurrents of power play and politics. And I stood up against all these corrupt practices. You know, like I came up with my own manifesto and I presented it to the higher ups. But at that point in time, I didn't know that these higher ups themselves didn't want to change the system, you know, because it was serving their agendas. So I was blacklisted, you know, completely. And that's when I wrote this book, you know, about my experiences in the Silicon Valley and how we as responsible engineers or enlightened engineers need to change this system, you know, and that's why I had to step out of it and start my own small software startup to set an example as to how software needs to be developed and what should be the end result and what should be the main goal. You know, the main goal should be about allowing people to gaze inward, not just outward, not just the external technology. You know, there's a technology within us also. So my projects also focus on this, you know, merging of spirit and science. So this is my, actually it's not, it's part fiction, it's part like part memoir and non-fiction, you know, like it's not a fiction. It's actually based on my own, my own starting point in the corporate world, the journey that I began 3.5 years ago. So what I'll do is I'll read the last paragraph, which, you know, you're talking about technology and how science and technology needs to be merged. Yeah.
Yes.
As more and more employees in the Silicon Valley and elsewhere firmly resolve to overcome their limitations and fears and seek only what brings them the most happiness through their work, they will transform themselves from mere engineers to enlightened engineers. As enlightened engineers, we will be able to overcome workplace pathologies and learn how each other's spiritual gifts are related and gain insights into how they can best work together. It is not just the taglines or logos outside the posh buildings, but the mindset of people walking inside these buildings that is going to make the Silicon Valley a true value of spiritual vigor. I truly believe that as we become more spiritual, we all will become a technologically advanced civilization, and we need to use both these aspects wisely for overcoming individual shortcomings and for bringing about global evolution. Thought after thought, I was, and I'm still seeking, but it took me some while before I realized what I've heard from many seekers earlier, that the true gems of inner knowing are discovered in the silence between thoughts. Silence is golden, formless, shapeless, hence truthful. Fellow seekers, read this book, be silent for a while, and you will rediscover the essence of your own truth. This truth will swing you away from behind the bars of a carnal prison towards the skies of a pristine paradise.
That's really beautiful, Chitra. I really loved your poem, Exit the Matrix, as well as the excerpt from your current book, which you just read to me. You have actually gone one step inside into an inner journey, and you're trying to merge technology, what is out there, and what we are feeling within ourselves, a spiritual journey in a very beautiful way. I can actually see the meaning you're trying to bring out, not only through the poem you read out just now, and the paragraph which you read out from your book, but also on your posts that you do on LinkedIn every day. It's really beautiful. Where do you get this inspiration from?
Yes, I'll share a very small secret with you. Actually, it's not a secret. It's a it's a time old tradition which most gurus or even sages of the old have shared with all of us, that when you want to tap into your inner essence, which is available to all of us, I mean, I'm no one special, I'm you, you are I, we all belong to the same consciousness stream, but just that we are different points of attention on that consciousness stream. So what I do is every week, I don't even tell people to do it daily. I tell people to do it on a weekly basis. Every week I devote 1 hour towards my creative hobbies. Like I have a lot of creative hobbies. I'm not a great painter, but I do like to paint flower arrangements, or I'm into pottery also. And I also play the synth. So I do that for at least 1 hour every week. Now these days I've, after this lockdown and everything, and everything has been affected, my studies and work, everybody's life has been affected to some degree or the other. So I've also increased the time, I do 2 hours, on a weekly basis. So this definitely helps me to get into the highest level of concentration, of focus. The focal point is absolute for me during those 2 hours. So during those 2 hours, I'm in a world of my own. And my brain is operating at a very high level, high level frequency. And that's when I get a lot of ideas for my software projects, for my books. Not that I don't get them otherwise, but here the flow is, limitless, it's unhindered during those 2 hours. So the same thing applies to all of us, it's not me, everybody has some kind of a hobby or creative outlet. Just that people have become so mechanized and, okay, I have to work from 9 to 9. I have to earn so much. Okay, you earn, no problem. But 2 hours is doable. It's doable for self-care. People talk about self-care a lot. But when you talk about self-care, what does it include? It does not include just going to a spa, or it does not just include, reading a book. It also includes about harnessing your creative power, because we are all creative beings finally. Right now we all have become more of, consumers of products, consumers of services, consumers of information. But where are we producing? What are we producing? When are we producing? How much are we producing? That's very important. When you produce something, that is when you create something, that's when you're in your highest state of concentration, optimal focus. There's nothing to zone out. You're there in the moment. And that's when new ideas, come up, or new techniques of doing things better come up in your from your subconscious into your conscious, because finally all your resources are in your subconscious. You need to bring them up into your conscious. And there's several ways. One of them is a creative outlet. Then the other is meditation, but not many people will get into meditation, because frankly speaking, meditation is a very, very hardcore practice. It takes a lot of years to get to that level. So do something with your eyes open, with your eyes open also you can do meditation. You can be mindful. And that one of the ways is creativity. And I do this regularly. And I've been doing this for the last 7-8 years regularly. I don't miss it out at all.
So you suggest 1 hour or 2 hours of creativity per week for people to actually to be able to concentrate their energies and connect within.
Okay, I see. Now, when I talk about creativity, it need not be doing some creative activity, as I mentioned earlier. What you can do is you can also log in into YouTube or any other kind of channel, which also provides, of course, the percentage is very, very minor. Log into such channels like your channel, or channels which provide a lot of information which talks about the deeper dynamics of life, in inner resources, mental well-being, because these are subjects that are not spoken about otherwise. Otherwise, even in your circles, nobody talks about these subjects. People mostly talk about, oh, which film did you see today, or who's your favorite actor. These are all small talks. That's okay till a certain point, but one needs to grow as a human being, or as a being of light and love. One needs to grow. So you can always tune into such frequencies that will help you to grow in your journey. So growth itself is a creative process. So once you tap into that growth process, and you understand it's an ongoing process, it's an ongoing commitment, just like your studies or work or your family life, then one will realize that one needs to also allocate some amount of time on a daily or weekly basis to evolve one's consciousness. Now, when people talk about consciousness, it's nothing outside of this world. You don't have to access some intergalactic system or something. It's all within yourself. It's just understanding that I'm not more than my money. I'm more than my degrees. I'm something more than my titles. I am this, but I'm something more than that. And that's something more is that gap, gap between this consciousness level to the next consciousness level. And that is the growth journey. And that, for that, people will have to use some kind of tools like creative outlet, meditation, speaking with people who are on that journey, who have already been there, done that. So that these are some of the, because, in current times, you really can't go out and find a guru because, you really can't trust anyone. So you have to trust your own intuition. And these are some of the ways of developing your inner mental fiber or intuitive capacity. And now intuition, people might think sixth sense is all humbug. No, it's not humbug. Sometimes you have this, strange feeling in your gut that, you're taking up some project or something, but you have a strange feeling in your gut. It comes up automatically. You don't even do anything about it. You're not like inducing it. That's when, gut feeling, it's trying to tell you that this project is not good for you, or maybe your resonance does not match with it. So these are some things that you have to realize, and you have to be mindful of your body and its signals as well. That's a huge part of mental well-being. When people talk about mental well-being, people think it's only about, your mental psyche or your emotional domains, but it's also about your body's well-being, because your body does give you signals about your emotional, loopholes. So, yeah.
You're very right when you said that when people talk about mental well-being, it is very much connected to the physical well-being also. So physical, mental, emotional, and consciousness are all actually very much interrelated, and they go very much hand in hand. And only when there is a balance in one can there be a balance in the other one too. So what you're doing is a great job. You're trying to bring about positivity, not only in your life, you're trying to connect within, you're trying to bring about positivity in others' lives also, which is something to be applauded. You're doing a great job, Chitra. I'm really amazed. I'm so happy that I had a chance to talk to you on this platform here.
No, I'm actually honored because you yourself are a beacon of light, because, you're coming up with this kind of a series, well-being series. That itself is a, testimony that you are also adding value to your collective community and to the, greater good of our world. And we need more and more help in hands to do this, because it's not a one-man show. And the more people join us, then we can definitely raise the vibration frequency of our planet. And given the current conditions of chaos like COVID and everything, we need to help people to get out of this fear paradigm, because most people are in this fearful state, and I really want them to come out of it. We have to be warriors. We have to be warriors and help each other out, and we also need to help our mother earth as well. I am always happy and stoked about such new initiatives, because finally we as a collective consciousness need to bring out the best in each other. And apart from my software work and software studies, I'm also involved in a lot of social transformation projects, including world peace, including, homeless, we are also working on projects for the homeless. And women empowerment is also a very close subject to my heart, because inclusion and diversity, not just in terms of gender, gender specific roles, but also in terms of skills, or in terms of, the various creative resources that a person can bring to the table, be it a man or a woman. So this kind of a rift that we can see in the corporate world, or even otherwise in the social sphere, is very important to, sort of get rid of. So, because both men and women are needed equally to balance out the equation and to sort of take this entire civilization to the next level of evolution. And I'm definitely on you with this, on this caravan with you to, sort of bring more empowerment to one and all.
That's really awesome to hear, Chitra. Thank you so much for that. Your words of encouragement truly mean a lot to us. What advice do you have for the women out there today who are actually, they have to find a work-life balance. They have to take care of their family and they have to take care of their career. They have to be able to also devote some time for themselves to grow spiritually from within. What advice do you have for them? Would you like to share?
Yes, absolutely. See, now for any kind of balance that you are aspiring to bring about in your life, it takes a lot of persistent efforts. And these persistent efforts are very necessary to touch base with your spiritual axis. because finally, one needs to understand that there's certain spiritual qualities that you need to activate in your physical being. Only then you can bring about this balance in all spheres of life. And it is here where you will find your true self and true knowledge as to how you can add value to your life, enhance it, enrich it, and also then, initiate this chain reaction of empowering each other, especially women empowering women, because that's very important. And once we also understand that we are the ones who make or break the stability of our existence, or, we are the ones who make or break our emotional domains. So we need to also spare some time on working on this aspect of our well-being, which is very, very important, emotional control, or, control over your emotional domains to remain calm, no matter what comes your way, or no matter who comes your way. Only then you can enjoy a deep sense of accomplishment and joy. Only then you can have this kind of a unified awareness, both internally, like your left brain and right brain, and also externally in terms of the gender specific roles that unfortunately our society has currently sort of glorified to such an extent that women are women, men are men. But no, they both have qualities that can complement each other in a very, very balanced manner, in a cohesive manner. So this is very important for being able to manifest one's dreams or one's goals in an efficient and effective manner, and in a coexistent manner, not like in silos. Like we need to operate in a seamless, cohesive manner. Yeah.
Okay. I thank you very much for joining us today and giving us your knowledge and sharing all the information with us, which is so helpful for us to grow as a human being from within and achieve our highest potential. Thank you very much once again for joining us, Chitra. Have a beautiful day.
And I want to thank you from the core of my heart for having me as your guest. And now I'm not a guest, now I'm a family member. I'm like a part of your initiatives, and yeah. I'll put in my best to, ensure that your initiatives reach, a wider audience. And I also want to thank our combined networks for being so supportive and for tuning in. And I'm sure together we'll become more stronger, wiser, and more empowered. And I wish you all the very best in all your initiatives. And I'm sure you will have a transformative journey going forward. God bless you. Thank you so much, Dee.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chitra, for your beautiful words. You have a beautiful day.
Yeah, you too. God bless you. Take care.